The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Friday. No show Monday, huh?
No show Monday. Monday is a holiday, so everyone enjoy your long
Don't
weekend.
Forget it's Labor Day. Go out and labor.
Hey, it's because of unions that we have Labor Day. Let me tell you something.
That's right. That's right. A much forgotten fact, but who cares, right? Who cares about the working man anymore?
Well, we know that we know our government doesn't.
That's for damn sure. So, I don't know. Where do we begin? Governor Baker comes to Fall River. Of course, it's an election year, right?
Of course, of course.
Of course, it's election. Yeah.
Well, and every politician had its say.
Yeah.
Even the mayor was there.
Oh.
Touting, and you know why he loves this? Because this is rebranding. Rebranding. Yeah. We're rebranding career centers into the MassHire career centers. Yeah, well, you know, that always works because, you know, how long have those career centers been around and done absolutely nothing for most people's careers? Well, according to the mayor, that's not exactly true. Oh, no. They hired 1,000 people in less than 90 days for Amazon. Really? Yeah, and 12 of them for Fall River. Yeah. So that leaves, you know, 88, 888 that they didn't hire. Well, it was interesting. It was interesting because I got the press release on this before the press conference, obviously. So even before the mayor's comments were made, they were included in the press conference, which I thought was funny.
Well, you know, one thing about politicians, and especially about the way they can manipulate facts, you know, if BS was bricks, they could build a chimney to the moon and have bricks left over, because that's what they do best. But he's going to tout. They tout everything. It's like, you know, the only thing I enjoy politics to a great degree, the actual, you know, the war without bloodshed, and I like to see some of the campaigns and how they get dirty, clean, whatever, how they run them. But the thing that disturbs me is the incessant commercials and stuff. You know, I don't think I can turn on the TV, you know, without, you know, 5 commercials per minute, you know, for every politician known to man. And then you get these, you know, then you got to listen to their BS. I like it when they just go hammer and tong, you know, and it really gets good, because then it gets interesting, you know.
Well, interestingly enough,
for them to stand up and absolutely BS the public, just shovel the crap, you know, like Amazon hired 1,000 people for doing what? You know, what did they need training to go work in a warehouse? For God's sakes, Jazel, please.
Well, here's the thing, though. Okay, Mayor Jazel Correa made no bones about what the now renamed Fall River Career Center was his favorite. It was his favorite. It's in Fall River. And that the staff was second to none. Yeah, especially seeing that you're hiring unqualified people.
That's right.
Like Joe Camara's brother.
Yeah, and the other one that we had a complaint once about the person that never showed up for work.
Exactly.
And works there,
yep.
But never showed up for work.
But is there for every
oh yeah, of course
press
it's wonderful.
Conference.
It's places he can employ all his millennial friends who never had a real job.
Noting that the staff was able to hire 1,000 people in 90 days. The staff didn't hire these people. Amazon hired them. All they were facilitators. Yeah. They had people go down there to their office to apply for the job, and then Amazon met with them. Okay, yeah. That is their job. It's nothing glorious.
And 1,000. That's like saying that everybody in Massachusetts is a resident of Fall River. Well, guess what? How many out of those 1,000 jobs went to Fall Riverites?
Right, and that's one of the questions you have to ask.
I mean, listen. You're not the mayor of Somerset, Swansea, Sonnet, Freetown, East Providence, and wherever all those people got hired. I want to, Jazel, show me a list with their home addresses of all the employees at Amazon. I want to see exactly how much. Don't give me that 1,000 people were hired. And if that's true, and those 1,000 people that didn't live in Fall River applied through an office that was supposed to be helping Fall River people get jobs, what are they getting paid for?
Well, my thing is this. In fiscal 2018, which was just last year, Acosta said the career centers around the state, this is around the state,
yeah,
have served 132,000 job seekers, with 8,000 being disabled and 6,000 being veterans, while connecting 4,000 with training opportunities and worked with 20,000 employers. That's statewide. Can you see that? That number is minuscule.
Yeah, of course.
That's nothing. Now, here's the problem that they did. All they did was change their name. Now, if the state wanted to do something right, what they should have done was say to Fall River, you no longer have control over the career center. We are going to control it. We are going to control it, and your hack hires are gone. Yeah. Okay? Because these are people that don't show up for a job and don't do anything.
But throughout the state, these what these things are normally. They're all political dumping grounds for all the cronies.
Right.
And they don't get anything done. Now, if they, rather than change the name, why don't they change the direction? Why don't they teach people how to do things that can actually get a job like they did in Rhode Island, and teach them how to be welders, and they got jobs in electric boat, and teach them how to do specific things. That Raimondo commercial, I learned how to be a pipe fitter, and I got a job at EB.
Right.
Well, good, fine. You know, that's what they've done in Germany for like the last 60 years. But no, these things are just political crap. And then what disturbs me more is the way they manipulate facts and lie. It's like, I mean, you can't see through this. Number one, you don't know how many people don't work there from Fall River. And not only that, if this was true, how pathetic is Fall River? If they hired 1,000 people from Fall River and we still have one of the highest unemployment rates in the state, it doesn't say much for the way the city's employing its people, does it?
We have the highest unemployment rate.
Well, we did, but once in a while, we lose first place. But we work, that's one thing we work diligently to correct.
That's right.
Wait a minute.
That's right.
We fell down a second or third in the state in unemployment. Let's get some more people and throw them out in the street.
Now, here's what this came from the government.
But I'll tell you what, you know where we have the highest employment rate in the state?
Drug dealers.
No, yeah, well, I'm talking about, no, but in the public sector, in City Hall, the mayor's friends
that's right,
have the highest employment rate in the state.
The Jazel Career Employment Agency.
That's right, the Jazel Career Employment Agency.
Speaking of the Jazel Career Employment Agency, Fall River Mayor, this is from the governor's press release. Fall River Mayor Jazel Correa noted, I fully support the Commonwealth's workforce system rebranding initiative as an important way to shine a light on a great community resource that is the MassHire Fall River Career Center. I'm confident the MassHire branding effort will greatly increase awareness of the valuable services that are offered to job seekers and employers right here in Fall River each and every day. Mm-hmm. Like, rebranding is going to bring more people in.
Look how many times we've rebranded.
Yeah.
You know, we rebrand and rebrand and rebrand. Good thing it's not cattle rustling, because we'd be all going to jail because nobody could make out the brands. They've rebranded so many times.
I know.
Look, I guess that old adage, if you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. Well, they still haven't figured. All these geniuses who come in, and these consultants that they hire to make big money and give their political friends jobs, and has anything improved in the last 20 years? This city has gotten progressively worse. The problems have gotten progressively worse. More crime, more drugs, more everything, less jobs. People are moving out. People who actually had jobs, if they can, they move out. And so, but they continue to, you know, and look, I understand that. I think that's a course. Isn't Goebbels' propaganda a course at political science? Isn't that like that's like the art of war for politicians, you know? And it's like just to completely fabricate stuff, manipulate figures. Oh, 1,000 people got hired at Amazon. Yeah, well, number one, Amazon didn't hire 1,000 Fall Riverites. Let's be frank, you know. I mean, and this is what politicians do best. They color way out of the lines, and they color facts. They tell half-truths, which, by the way, are half-lies. Yeah, you're right, they did hire 1,000 people. And those people may be out of work in 6 months. As soon as they find a robot to replace them, they're gone. Because we've proven that Amazon is one of the most predatory employers in the country.
They actually have a pretty high turnover rate, because
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who were hired originally who are no longer working for Amazon. They went to work for other companies.
Yeah, because it is a horrible place to work. There was a national documentary on the national news about Amazon.
And that's why Fall River gets the best of the worst.
That's right.
You know, coming from the governor's press release also on this was from, and at least for John Mitchell in New Bedford had something that was halfway logical. The key to developing a highly skilled workforce is making sure the employers and job seekers alike are taking full advantage of the public sector resources in place to bring them together. That is why I am pleased to support the MassHire brand launch here in New Bedford. Thanks to the MassHire branding effort, more residents and businesses of Greater New Bedford will be able to access our workforce system resources. Again, a little bit of truth, a lot of BS.
Sounds great on paper,
Yeah.
because he's right. You know, we all know about business and business worker and business, you know, community partnerships to create apprenticeship programs. I mean, listen, we're not reinventing the wheel here. It's not like there aren't places in the world that have great, absolutely great feeder systems and employment, like Germany, which is the prototype for everybody.
Just not the prototype for Fall River.
But do we do it in the United States? These are just all, you know, they're all political things to create, you know, they love to create departments. That's why, what do you think they wanted to take over economic development? Look how well they're doing on it. They haven't done anything, but they're going to hire a whole bunch of people and create another employment agency opportunity for their friends. And you know, I mean, FROED didn't do a great job, and neither will they, because they don't attempt to develop the economy, because the way to develop the economy is do things that people really don't like. That's actually have people in there who know what they're doing and can train people for the job market. You know, it's like when they took the coal miners and said there's no more jobs in the coal mines, and they trained them to do computers and things like that. They trained them in stuff that there were opportunities. They love to come up with all this BS, but they don't, and manipulate fact. Fact is, there are 10 million jobs in the United States right now that are unfilled because people do not have the training qualifications. So why shouldn't we create apprenticeship programs to prepare these people, welders, pipe fitters? Oh, you got an electric boat, you got a Bath shipyard. There are specific jobs, specific trade jobs. And if you have something like that, you'll get the job. As a matter of fact, many moons ago, when I was discharged from the military, my first job was not on a Fall River Fire Department. It was at Quonset Point at the Naval Air Rework Facility. And it was in electronics. But the federal government, because they needed those trades, had an apprenticeship program. And many people from Fall River went up there to be trained as electricians, hydraulics, mechanics, electronics, and the various trades they needed at Quonset Point, because they were in what they call a Naval Air Rework Facility. And they used to take fighter planes and submarine trackers, bring them in, strip them completely, and rework and troubleshoot and make sure everything was working, radio, radar, everything, hydraulics, everything. And ultimately the place closed, and then now it's EB. But there are trades, and those trades create good jobs, good, stable jobs. But do we ever do that in Fall River? No. Come, learn how to be a phlebotomist. Not that there's anything wrong with being a phlebotomist, but, you know, I mean, it's not a very big career field. I don't think you need, like, 2,000 phlebotomists. You know, EB hires a lot of welders, a lot of pipe fitters, you know, but...
The problem is our tax dollars are going to train a lot of phlebotomists and a lot of CNAs, and the market... The market is swamped, but the thing is, nobody's working in those fields because there's no money to be made in them.
There's no money, that's right.
There's no money to be made in them. They're all working for minimum wage.
Yeah, pretty sad. I saw somebody, I was talking to somebody the other day, said that, you know, psychiatrist, the average income for a doctor is $200,000 a year for that branch of medicine. But one of their children was going to go into that, and he researched it, and you know, it wasn't chump change, but it's not, you know. I mean, I know plumbers that make that much money.
Yeah. No, if you're going to go into medicine, you want to be an anesthesiologist. And you get paid to gas people. And let me tell you something, you get paid a lot of money to gas them. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that, yeah, you're right. There are some fields, but I mean, you look at it and you say, well, $200,000. Maybe that's overpaying for a psychiatrist, but the fact is that's not a lot of money. $200 and some thousand was the average income. When you think about it, I know plumbers who make that. Plumbers make a lot of money. You ever hire a plumber?
They're not cheap.
They're not cheap. Electricians, those people are tradesmen. They have a skill, and I'll tell you what, a good plumber can make as much as a doctor today.
Exactly.
You know, unless you're in the right field. Obviously, if you're a brain surgeon, you're not making 200 grand. You might make 200 grand an operation, but you know, I mean, again, political rhetoric and garbage. So on to the FROED. Huh? What do we got with FROED?
Well, accordingly, former Mayor Will Flanagan was supposed to sign an affidavit saying that he did not require FROED to pay rent. According to his chief of staff, Ann O'Neill Souza, she stated that they were never required to pay rent and it was not included in the budget. But Mayor Flanagan, needing a letter of non-opposition for his marijuana company, dragged his feet on it. As a matter of fact, the Herald News posted the text exchange from FROED about the rent that government sent them. Kenny Fiola says, "Can I forward you a draft affidavit for review and signature?" Will Flanagan says, "Yes." Ken Fiola, "Thank you. We'll send later today." Ken Fiola, "Just emailed the draft document. Can you forward signed documents this morning? Thank you. Need a little more time." And the document never came. So FROED filed an affidavit with the courts stating that they allege that Will Flanagan backed out of signing an affidavit supporting the nonprofit agency's claim that they were exempt from paying rent because the former city mayor was seeking a letter of non-opposition from Mayor Jason Correa II to open a recreational marijuana facility. Flanagan is representative for the company Hope Heal Health, which already has permission to open a medical marijuana facility.
Well, at least he didn't pull a gun on him this time.
But interestingly enough, Sam Sutter and Lou Pacheco, Sam Sutter being the former mayor, Lou Pacheco being his chief of staff, said the same thing, that FROED wasn't required to pay rent.
Yeah, well, but, you know, like I said, isn't it amazing what politics creates strange bedfellows? Now, here's somebody that was they were friends, they were enemies, and now when you need a license, you become friends again. So politics rears its ugly head. He wouldn't call it. Come on, Will, stand up, man. Tell the truth. Don't be delaying. What are you looking at, for a continuance until everything goes away? You know, again.
Well, like I said, while Flanagan didn't provide a statement that he exempted FROED from paying rent after a licensing agreement expired on June 30th, 2014, his former Chief of Staff, Ann O'Neill Sousa, did and indicated she was aware that no rent was charged, citing as quid pro quo for all the economic development initiatives that FROED was doing in conjunction with Mayor Flanagan on behalf of the city, and that the 2015 budget didn't include any rent revenues. Likewise, former Mayor Sam Sutter and his former Chief of Staff, Lou Pacheco, signed affidavits indicating that FROED was not being charged rent under the administration. So there it is. So why Will Flanagan didn't sign this allegation that he wanted that letter of non-opposition is pretty viable. Yeah. It's pretty viable. But
circumstantial evidence, but a lot of it.
But my question would be, if that is the case, and if God forbid they prove that's the case, is that subject to disbarment? Is that subject to racketeering charges?
Well, I don't know. Just probably just they'll say you know, just. He's not.
Or is that just a simple legal negotiating tactic?
Well, it may be. You know, it just may be something endemic to the Flanagan and his, because didn't his law department, and he's a lawyer too, wasn't his law department always late with everything?
Yeah,
late
Dominion.
Dominion. Do we all remember Dominion? We didn't get that letter. We filed this late. We never heard of it. But, you know, so maybe it was just in the normal course. So the moral of that story is that, you know, unless you're looking for political influence, maybe he's not the right guy to consider if you're looking to go to the guillotine.
The sad part about it is, his own chief of staff threw him under the bus.
Yeah.
And you would think that he would just say, okay, you know what? It's public record. It's known. And we can look back at the 2015 budget and see I didn't charge him rent. I didn't include it in the budget. That's the way it is. Sign the affidavit.
And did Jazel put it in the budget for all those years he wants back rent?
No.
So how can he claim it?
Exactly.
He's got a past practice established. You had two previous mayors that didn't charge.
And there's more administrations than just.
And there's more than that.
Exactly.
That's right, because he's been around for 20
since 1978.
Yeah, God. I mean, and they never.
That's a true tick.
Yeah. I mean, that's what talk about past. That's way past practice.
Exactly.
But we'll see what happens, because again, Joe Macy goes, oh, you know, my opinion, which is always, who
wrong.
cares?
Which is always wrong.
Which is always wrong. But you know, luckily for
he may never be wrong, but he's never right.
But he did confirm that Correa had sent a letter to the marijuana company
of non-opposition. Yes, they have it.
Non-opposition. He did.
So obviously,
I have no comment on you know. Well, I don't expect him to have a comment, but I expect him when asked a specific question about what he did as the mayor. That's not commenting on a litigation. It's a statement of. They're asking him for a statement of fact.
Right.
You know,
who cares? It's factual. You know, this is Fall River. We don't deal with that.
You know, so, you know, politics as usual. But I guess Senator McCain today, they're doing.
He's lying in state in Washington.
Lying
yes.
in state in Washington. Yeah. And so
and tomorrow he'll be based at buried at the Naval Academy.
Arlington? No.
No, he's going to be buried at one of the academies.
In Annapolis?
He's going to be buried at one of the academies.
Annapolis. That's where he graduated from, I would assume.
I don't know if it's the Naval. I think it's the Naval Academy because he was in the Navy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the Naval Academy.
Naval aviator, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be buried at the Naval Academy.
Yeah, his father and his grandfather were both admirals.
Right, exactly.
In the Navy, which I found ironic because some of the news media got it wrong because his son is in the Navy.
Yes.
One son, but the other son's in the Army.
Yes.
And he's an enlisted man.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting? His other son was in the Army. He's a buck sergeant. Actually, one of the news media's had it wrong because they said he was in the Marines, but he was wearing Army dress blues, not Marine dress uniform. Whoever said that was.
I don't know how they could. I don't know how they could miss it.
Was definitely not a veteran.
I don't know how they could miss it because I saw immediately on TV the son wearing a beret.
Yeah, which, yeah. And now the Army adopted a beret for all people,
all branches.
not just the Green Beret.
Right.
And so he was wearing a beret with the blue flash, which, if you're a Green Beret, the flash, which is the patch where the pin is on in the front, signifies what unit you're in, what group you're in Special Forces. But all the Army wears the light, the sky blue with the stars around them, and they whatever brass they put in it on it's called a flash on the beret. But he was wearing a beret. He had, Army dress blues, which are blue, because Marine Corps has the red piping, and they have a royal blue pants, and the uniform's completely different. Plus, their chevrons are different. So, but
Navy is dress whites.
Yeah, well, in the summer, yeah, the dress whites in the summer, yeah, and but I mean, they should at least get the military service right when they're talking about a former military. A former military man who, and both his sons are military, get the branch right. And although, as I saw as pallbearers, they had every service represented, which they should, because as a senator and as a veteran, they had everybody represented, which was good, and it's going to be, It was a very solemn thing. You saw it was very moving. You watched when he left Arizona. Yes. And the streets were lined with people, and Joe Biden had some good comments too on it too. So it's on. I believe it's being covered on TV. So if you can watch it, you should, because as I said, it's a passing of somebody who still could play the game and be as tough and as vicious as anybody could be.
And also just as diplomatic.
But he also could work with somebody if for the right reasons. He worked with people on both sides of the aisle. He'd fight the fight for what he believed in, but he could work. He worked with Teddy Kennedy, who, philosophically, there were no two human beings.
They were definitely both sides of the fence.
If there were polar opposites that ever lived, it was Ted Kennedy and John McCain. And but he worked with them, and he also worked with John Kerry, who I know he had a great amount of animosity toward because of his actions against the war. But he mended the fences for the good of the public, and anything he thought was right, he would fight to the end, which is good. And whether you agreed or disagreed, I think, unfortunately, that's one of the problems we have in government now. That's lost. Everything's so partisan that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the other side is right. And I'm not saying one side's right more than others. Most of the time, as far as I'm concerned, government's wrong. But if there is something, an initiative that's right, what we see today is, to me, that's one of the problems that we have to get rid of most of these people, because they don't care if something they're doing is for the good of the people and is right. If their party is against it for whatever reason, it's toast. Yeah. Nobody will support it. Yeah. And McCain always rose above that. And I thought somebody made a comment. I thought it was really funny, because the building, the letters of the building, they're going to call the McCain building as SOB. And somebody said that was very appropriate. Yeah. John McCain, SOB. And because he could be an SOB sometime, but everybody respected him, because you know something? Sometimes you got to be an SOB. Yeah.
One of our viewers just sent a message saying that the service at the Capitol building, at the Capitol, is now taking place. So if you want to watch it, you can watch it on television. Yeah,
we'll be wrapping up very shortly.
I'm not going to get into this platform one thing, but I am going to say that next week, the Ordinance Committee is meeting to once again talk about a tourism director.
Well, everybody wants to be a hotbed.
Leave to withdraw already.
Everybody wants to be a tourist. So if that doesn't get you, well, hey, people, tune in and watch the honors for Senator McCain. Whether you agree to disagree with his policies, if you don't respect the man, it's something
Well, what's interesting is the state still hasn't decided how they're going to handle tax money for tourism, but Fall River's already made that decision.
Yeah, give their friends a job.
Exactly.
That's how they're going to handle it.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Have a good
great
Memorial
weekend.
Day.
Have a great long weekend. Enjoy yourself.
Labor
Stay
Day.
angry, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Sorry, Labor Day. And remember, respect labor.